Hey, all, Baruch HaLevi be here from Man Uprising. That's right, Man Uprising. If you're watching, you really can't miss it now, can you? For those listening, I have this awesome new shirt, Man Uprising, and a great sign behind me. And if you want to get over to the website in the Man Cave, you can just QR code that thing, and it'll take you there. Otherwise, you can go over to manuprising.org. So many of you've heard me before talking with my Defiant Spirit shirt on, so to speak, and that is my work as a counselor, therapist, and Enneagram teacher. And I still do that work, but my energy's shifting more and more over to Man Uprising. This is my work as a coach, a life coach, executive coach, meaning coach, taking my work of Dr. Viktor Frankl. I'm a logotherapist, that's meaning-centered psychotherapy. I have a doctoral degree in pastoral counseling, and bringing all that work over to merging it with my coaching experience and programs. And it's a little more, well, it's more coaching. It's more proactive, forward-facing, and tools, strategies for living more meaningfully and purposefully, particularly for men rising up in the second half of life. So I am doing Man Uprising coaching, and I'm also running with my co-founders of Man Uprising, Dave Mann and Cam Moken, Man Uprising peer groups. Those are for groups of 9 men to get together once a month, either here in Denver, Colorado, or virtually, to do the work of Man Uprising in a peer group format. And then any man and every man 20 older is welcome to join the Man Cave, complimentary, where you can get the curriculum, which I'm going to tell you about. Because whether you just jump into the Man Cave and you do a DIY version of what I'm about to tell you, or you jump into a peer group, or you work one-on-one with me, the Man Uprising is built around a curriculum, and a specific curriculum that I've been working on for years, but not inspired by me, inspired by another teacher of mine, not Viktor Frankl, but Dr. Carl Jung. Dr. Jung said that there are really 3 phases of a man's journey. There's the morning of life, the afternoon of life, and the evening of life. Now, I throw in there a fourth, which is the noontime. I call it high noon. And so we really look at morning, more late morning. And Jung would define the morning of life as prior to 40. And so I divide that up into morning and late morning. So for me, late morning are 20s and early 30s. And that's the late morning of life. High noon I define as hovering around 40, at the magical age. So 40 to 45, 50 is really the high noon mark of a man's life. Afternoon is, 40s, 50s, up to through 70s maybe. And then the evening of life is, 80 onwards. There's no hard and fast rules for these, but every man who's been on the journey and gone through this knows exactly that those are distinct phases. It also lines up with a lot of male development work, language like the page, the knight, the prince, and the king. The page or the squire is the early morning of a boy's life, and then you go into knighthood, and that's late morning of a man's life, and then you go into princedom, becoming a prince, and that's more of the high noon, and then you go into the afternoon, which is a king, and then so it's just an organic rhythm. It's the hero's journey. There's so much of it, but build an entire curriculum around this journey. And so the curriculum for Man Uprising, whether you access it free in the Man Cave, or you get it in one of your peer groups, which is paid, or you get it with me. Obviously, one-on-one coaching with me is paid. You get the foundation of it, and that's a book. So each of the modules that I'll describe is a chapter in the book. And so it's built around these, essentially, I'll show you the picture of it, these 4 phases: morning or late morning, high noon, afternoon, and evening. And each one of these has 6 chapters, and each chapter is turned into a module, plus the introduction is really 25, but we'll call it 24 modules. And so every time a peer group gets together, they take on one of these modules and they explore it. They go deep into it. I'll tell you more about peer groups another time, because we really have amazing peer groups, but that's not what this is about. This is about the curriculum that's the through line through the Man Cave, through peer groups, and through Man Uprising coaching. And so it's built around these 4 units of 6 chapters. Again, morning, high noon, afternoon, and evening, and 4 different genres. The morning of life is the Greek genre of a comedy. It's funny, it's light, it's silly, it's stupid. A man walks into a bar. It takes place in a bar. And just sorry to be crass, but he's doing what men do there. He's trying to get laid. So he goes through a pickup process with a woman. She's actually picking him up and asking him simple questions. What's your name and what do you do and come here often and are you single and what's your number and how are you getting home? And they sound like pickup lines, but they're actually deep questions that we all have to ask. And so our journey begins with most of the men I work with rewinding, going backwards. Some guys are in their 20s or 30s. Most of my guys are north of 40. Either way, either you're rewinding or you're in it and you're starting to really unearth the foundation of, the soil out of which you've grown. And so we really dig into that for the first 6 chapters. Or again, if you're in a peer group, it's the first 6 modules, 6 months. Then you have the Unit 2, which is more of a Greek tragedy. It's much deeper and darker and more struggle-filled, just like a man's journey is at the high noon mark of his life in his 40s or so. And he's really in the thick of it, and he goes out into the woods. So our protagonist is in a bar. Man walks into a bar in late morning. Protagonist walks into the woods in high noon, and he goes out into the wild, and he's in the darkness, and it's tragic, not in the sense it has a negative connotation or ending, it's just difficult. And on the other side of tragedy, he emerges, right? Out of emergency comes emerge. Out of this midlife crisis comes a midlife awakening. And so we grapple with that over the next 6 chapters or 6 modules. And then in the afternoon of a man's life, again, 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe 70s, a man walks into his kingdom. And it's about a man becoming a king, really taking ownership of himself, of his life, of his responsibilities, his duties, his kingdom. And those are the next 6 chapters. And then the final 6 chapters, a man walks into his evening. I think the most inspiring time in a man's life, from the men I've watched who've really risen up in their life, it's not a depressing, dark time. It's not a descent. It's an ascent. It's just an inner ascent and an external descent. And so most of us look forward to that time through the lens of Man Uprising, and we grapple with a man walks into his death. And that's the sort of curriculum overview. So again, part and parcel of everything I do with Man Uprising, built around this curriculum, turned into modules inside peer groups and inside my coaching. Inside peer groups, you have conversation starters for the peer groups, and you have explorations for the peer groups. Peer groups really fundamentally revolve around you as a man and your journey, your story, what you're going through. This just adds some flavor and some direction to the group, so it's not just free-formed. And we have a lot of structure in the group because we've borrowed best practice from other peer groups. But the bottom line is, this is sort of the through line through the man cave, through peer groups, and in my work with Man Uprising coaching or up coaching, where it's, again, I'm working exclusively with men, but a lot of men in executive coaching positions or executive roles, and they want executive coaching, but also a lot of guys who just want life coaching, bringing to it again the work of Viktor Frankl, meaning-centered, not just therapy, but deeper level healing, guidance, integrating the Enneagram, this roadmap, into all of it. And so in the up coaching, you have a separate space inside the man cave for peer groups and for up coaching. And for my guys who are going through coaching, inside there you have homework assignments, lots of bonus materials, tools to use. Everything's multimedia. Everything is just methodically laid out. You have a journal that you can track your progress and so much more. So sky's the limit. You can do as much or as little as you want, but it's a very structured process, merging counseling and coaching. I think the best of both worlds, and taking men individually on this journey, or doing it collectively together as peer groups, or doing it as on our own time frame DIY in the man cave. If you are a man, if you know a man who this sounds like it would speak to them, then just QR code this, jump over to manuprising.org. That will take you to the man cave, where you can easily get in there, and everything you need to know to get involved. We have inside the man cave more and more programming virtually. We have an upcoming man cave conversation. We're going to be talking about something meaningful. So meaningful I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. I think masculinity, what true masculinity is, not this bullshit either toxic on the one side or feminized masculinity on the other, but a true, authentic masculinity. We're going to be having conversations about men's health and wellness issues and more. We have in person here in Denver, Colorado, we have bonfires where we get together. We're going to be moving indoors here as the weather changes into some bars. We're going to meet periodically. Other get-togethers, we're going to be having retreats. And then virtually you can get into a peer group where you can work one-on-one with me. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to scale this out to a community near you. So our virtual groups are really a pathway for guys to get involved and then to open up a Man Uprising group in his community. So stay tuned for that. If you want to learn more, again, jump over to manuprising.org, shoot me an email, Baruch, Baruch at manuprising.org. I'd love to hear from you. If you know of a man who this would speak to, then forward him this video, and until we meet, rise up in the second half of your life.